Hey guys, it's me, Robbie Bulilan from Unique Photo. I'm here with Gene from Sony. He's here to visit Unique Photo again to show us some really great products. One specifically is the A7R Mark IV, which is not released yet and still in pre-order.
Hey, still in pre-order. It's going to be in pre-order for probably a few more weeks now. So
yeah.
You guys should feel lucky that you're being one of the first to see this.
That's awesome. Yeah, it's going to be awesome. I want to see a lot of the features that's here and what's new in the camera as well. It feels great to hold. That's one of the main differences from this.
Yeah, right? It's amazing that they took the same weight that was basically in the A7R III, and they totally redesigned the grip. It's the same type of magnesium alloy chassis, but it still it still weighs the same. And they've redesigned all the buttons. They've made things. They've reinforced the weather sealing significantly
I can tell,
on this model.
Just
and honestly, for people like me that are in the field a lot and you get grimy fingers and everything, the way that you glide over the buttons and the way that you can change the controls really on the fly make it a lot easier. So I think that a lot of the pros kind of came back to Sony. I mean, the engineers there really listened to not just the levels, but the pros. And really start to put some of that innovation into play. So when you look at, say, the joystick, for example, the joystick's been totally redesigned, so it's more form-fitting for your fingers, especially for your thumb, and not to mention either your shutter or your aperture rolling. The rolling dial there. That really makes it a lot easier. And of course, you can lock in now your settings, so you're not changing things on the fly. So if you think you're shooting a manual, suddenly you're in auto or intelligent auto or something like that. So it's really kind of reinforcing I don't know if I'm going to say it's a slogan, but it certainly is a mantra, is to basically keep this innovation going, but then listening to everybody and trying to put in what people need. Yeah,
a lot of our customers, this is one of the greatest things ever, is that lock for the exposure compensation.
Right. Yep.
Because I get a lot of customers who go like, oh, is there something wrong with my camera? All the pictures are coming out dark. And I just look at the top screen and it's just at like -3 for the exposure compensation. Yeah. But I'm really happy to see this added into the A7R Mark IV. They really did listen through a lot of the input that's been going on.
Right, well, it's the world's first 61 megapixel 35 millimeter sensor. So we're really trying to go after the resolution hounds.
Yeah, the sensor, that's one of the biggest things, right? Like, so what's the difference between the sensor for the A7R Mark IV versus the A7R Mark III?
Well, the A7R III by its own right, I mean, when you think about 42 megapixels, that's really nothing ever to sneeze at. That's much more resolution than most of us ever really need. But the A7R IV has taken it a step further and gone with, basically you've got a 61 megapixel sensor, and that you can shoot at 10 frames a second now, with almost the same autofocusing speeds that the A7R III and even leaning more towards the A9 have. So you've got a brilliant autofocusing system, especially in video, where you have eye autofocus tracking that was really only available
one of the things.
Then the A6400, which up until this release, I was like, that's the best tracking camera I've ever seen.
Yeah, that's one of the things everyone's been saying, like, oh, I wish there was eye auto tracking on video, and now that it's finally implemented here in the A7R Mark IV, which is really exciting.
You've got it, and along with an image stabilizer that's 5.5 stops.
Yeah.
I mean, you've got a lot of unparalleled solutions and situational that you can use to pretty much just use this for anything that you need, whether it's sports, wildlife shooting, studio shooting, depending on, because I mean, we have 51 lenses now that you can use from, 28 which are image stabilizers to a degree so far, but you also have all of this just packed into this body, and like I mentioned before, at 10 frames a second. I mean, you can gun it for up to probably 70 plus frames before it starts teetering, but again, I mean, at that type of resolution, I mean, no other camera on the planet can do that. And
both of them have a UHS 2 SD card slot now as well, right?
Well, that's the other cool thing, and I'm glad you brought that up, that the A7R IV actually has 2 UHS 2 slots now.
So now it's not just the one UHS 2 on the one slot, but now both of them are equipped with the UHS 2 for both SD card slots. So you could get megabytes, like write speeds up to like whatever.
Yeah,
exactly. And then that's why it's able to do this 70 frames for the continuous. That's awesome.
And I think even while we're on that same train of thought, the underneath the hood of it all, the USB-C slot has been upgraded in the algorithm at least, has been upgraded in the A7R IV, so it's faster charging.
Oh, that's awesome.
You also, the viewfinder, so the A7R III has 3.6 million dots.
Okay.
This one has 5.7.
Wow.
Yep. So you've got a lot to work with there. So almost 5.7 million dots. So you've got one of the most brilliant viewfinders of any type of camera that's on the market right
Awesome.
now today.
Cool. So there's a lot of other new things. I heard about the Wi-Fi. You could tether wirelessly with the A7R Mark IV, right?
Yeah, I think one of the best advantages, especially for a studio shooter like myself, is the ability that you're going to be able to using a Wi-Fi tether using our Sony Imaging Edge software. So not only are you going to be able to stream 4K video, but you're going to be able to tether wirelessly, so you won't have any cables. It's going to go straight to your PC,
wow,
your Mac, or your portable device at some point here. So that's a big deal. So you just connect to your local network, and then it'll transfer, a proxy file right over.
Oh, that'll be awesome. That's one of the things, is always tripping over cables, especially with it being everywhere. There's a bunch of cables already, so it's really nice to see that there's going to be less of that.
Yeah, and you can still use your USB-C tether tools cable or whatever you have to run into Capture One or whatever you need to, but this is also something, especially when you're on location or anything like that, and you don't have a lot of set pieces, that you're going to be able to do this on the fly.
Oh, that's awesome. So I've used the A7R Mark III for pixel shift, and that was like around 100 megapixels as well, right?
100, yeah.
Yeah, 100 something, over 100. Yeah. And then now, so with the new sensor now, we're also getting almost double that, right?
240. Yeah, it's about 240 megapixels. So, and not just that, whereas on the A7R III, you had it basically took a series of about 4 images.
Right.
Now you can take up to 16.
Oh,
it moves a pixel by about half an inch. So it's absolutely.
So that's how it's doing the 250 megapixels. That's
Yep. So it's pixel shift on steroids. It's pretty much
awesome.
what it is. So for the landscape or architectural, mainly architectural photographers, a lot of things that do a lot of set pieces, still lifes and everything, this is really going to be beneficial because you can dive so much deeper into that pixel pool now.
That's awesome.
That you really could only achieve with medium format systems.
That's awesome. Cool. So what else is new for the A7R Mark IV?
This one has 565 phase detection autofocus points, as well as 425 contrast. So coupled with 5.5 stops image stabilization, the same ISO range that's running off of the A7R III, those kind of run into where some of the similarities lie. I mean, it's still just an amazing system. But the phase detection in A7R III still is at about 693, but covering this type of surface is just unimaginable with that type of focal plane.
Yeah, that's going to be.
And even at APS-C modes, it's almost covering. Like, say for example, you're going to put this into APS-C. It's going to be that's going to be a 26 megapixel file. So, for all intents and purposes, it's pretty much the best crop sensor camera.
You're not really losing much, even if you're using like APS-C lenses on this camera, especially if you're transitioning from like an A6400. You still have the 24 megapixels, and then when you get to the full frame lens, so the upgradability on this camera is really great. That's what
Well, and again, even in the APS-C mode, you're covering almost 100% coverage.
Yeah, you're still getting the crazy autofocusing system. And
edge to edge is amazing. But you have the shutter carriage has been a little bit refined in here to make it a little bit quieter, a little much sturdier. There's just so many little things that I think from a comfort level, and especially with people like us that have bigger hands, that you're going to be able to dig into this camera and pretty much it's going to feel at home. So you're going to have a redesigned grip with it because it is wider, so it's not going to take a lot of the same things that the Series 3 cameras have, but it's going to give you a little bit more versatility, and as well as keeping very familiar with what we've already put out there.
Awesome. Cool. So you also have the
200 to 600. Yeah, it's almost a 5-pound lens. So one of the great things about this lens that a lot of people are going to see, besides the price point, I mean, just sitting at just under $2,000, it's 11 blade aperture, and basically edge to edge from the zoom range of 200 to 600, it is going to be edge to edge sharpness, which you don't see it a lot in a zoom that's going to be that much range on it. I think one of the other things, probably the most important thing for shooters like myself or wildlife shooters are going to be that as soon as you take a hold of it,
Yeah.
you basically have a 90-degree angle where you can go throughout the
Instant,
whole zoom
yeah.
range. You know, whereas with a lot of other manufacturers, you have to
You gotta
work
go
it
around.
a little bit.
Yeah, it has a longer throw on
Yeah,
it. So
not to mention the tracking that you can get off of this, coupled with cameras like the A7R Mark IV. It's just a stellar thing, and it
That's
is
awesome.
not that heavy. The sizeability, I mean, it is a hefty size, but it looks heavier than it actually is.
Oh, this is awesome.
But there is a special algorithm in there, so for when you're zooming, you know, it does maintain not just the edge crispness, but the background defocusing and the bokeh that you've come to expect from G series lenses.
Right. Yeah. Like G Master series, like, oh, this is a G series, right?
It is a G series. Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yes. Yeah. Yep.
But
the
I
other,
mean,
the 600mm prime is a G Master, but this one, the 200-600 f5.6-6.3 is only a G series
Awesome.
lens. But I want to say only because there really is no only about it. I mean, it is built for the masses as well as the pros. I mean,
Right.
we've had this in almost every type of situation, and it just sings. Not to mention with the coupling with the teleconverters that you can already use on the 70-200, 2.8 GM, and the 100-400, you can get up to 1200 millimeters.
Gotcha. And the
with
G
this
series have never been a slouch in image quality at all. Like the 12-24 f4, that one's like insanely sharp, and the 24-105 is
Yeah.
definitely one of the best crowd pleasers in
I mean,
our
those
lineup.
lenses are the
Yeah.
lenses that you take with you all the time.
Exactly.
I mean,
Yeah.
when I'm on assignment gigs, I'm using I have to use certain things, but when I'm traveling or just moving, these are the most comfortable pieces of glass, and plus, I mean, like you just said, I mean, the image quality is just stunner, is a stunner. I mean, it does everything right, and this lens is also going to be out coming up, so it's going to, both of these are going to be heavily back ordered for a while. But at least you kind of get to see, and we're here actually today to let some people
Check it out.
Yeah.
I see there's 3 different modes here. This is for the vibration control, right? Depending on which different modes.
Yeah, depending on what modes, yeah. Yep. So we have 3 different modes. You've got an optical steady shot. You've got different focal modes. So if you want to concentrate on closer subjects or subjects that are farther away, I mean, you've got a lot of versatility with this, as well as focus hold buttons. You know,
Right.
dusted or out, and they all do the same thing, but you can program that
Program
button
to
pretty
whatever
much
you
whatever
need
you
it to
want.
be.
So if you want to go from Super 35 full frame, I mean. Think about it. I mean, it's coupled with that camera, especially as a wildlife shooter. I mean, you really have the best of every single possibility.
Oh, that's awesome. Cool. So on Tuesday, Gene will be back here with the A7R Mark IV.
And the 200-600.
And the 200-600 as well. So if you guys want to swing by Tuesday from, do you have the times yet?
It's 12 to 6.
12 to 6 p.m. So if you want to ask your own questions, I wish I was able to ask a little bit more. But if you have any questions you want to ask Gene, or if you want to play around, you could also bring your SD card to Unique Photo, put it into the A7R Mark IV, and bring home some samples for yourself.
Yep.
Cool.
It's great.
Thanks,
Thank
Gene.
you very much.
Was there anything else you want to plug?
I'm going on vacation next week.
That's awesome. I want to go too. Well, actually, I just came back, so. All right, guys. See you
Thanks,
later.
guys. Yep.